My beloved child, something happened today that your soulmate never planned, never rehearsed, and never thought they would have the courage to do in front of everyone. They had been holding something inside for far too long, and then, in one unexpected moment, their emotions became impossible to hide. Don't skip, because what happened next changed the entire atmosphere around them. Imagine a room filled with people, conversations happening everywhere, and then suddenly your soulmate stood up. Their eyes searched through the crowd until they found one person, the person they could no longer pretend they didn't love. And then they said your name. Not quietly. Not secretly. They said it with a voice that made everyone stop and listen. Stay till the end, because the words that came after your name revealed something they had been protecting for a very long time. For a few seconds, nobody knew what to say. Your soulmate looked completely overwhelmed, as if they had finally reached the point where keeping silent hurt more than telling the truth. Someone nearby even tried to interrupt, but your soulmate shook their head. They weren't finished. They looked around at everyone and said that they had spent too much time worrying about what people would think. Then came the sentence nobody expected. They admitted that you were the person they had secretly been choosing in their heart, even during the moments when circumstances made it seem like they were moving away from you. Something huge is waiting for you in this story, because their public confession wasn't simply about saying, "I love you." It was about revealing why they had been distant, why they had been silent, and why they suddenly couldn't hide their feelings anymore. And just when everyone thought the confession was over, your soulmate reached into their pocket and brought out something they had carried with them for a long time. They held it tightly for a moment before saying, "I kept this because I was waiting for the right time." The room became completely silent. They explained that it was connected to a promise they had made to themselves about you. Then they looked directly toward you and said that they were done allowing fear, timing, or other people's opinions to decide what happened between you. Their voice trembled, but their words became stronger with every sentence. "If I have to say it once, I'll say it in front of everyone," they said. "You are the person my heart kept returning to." And that was the moment everything changed. Not because the crowd reacted, but because your soulmate finally stopped hiding. Don't skip the next part, because the thing they revealed after this confession explains why they waited so long, and why choosing you publicly may have been the most unexpected decision of their entire life. The moment your soulmate finished speaking, the entire room felt different. But what nobody knew was that their confession had only revealed the surface of something much deeper. They looked toward you again, and this time their expression changed from nervousness to certainty. They said they had remembered one particular moment between you that you probably thought meant nothing, yet to them, it had become unforgettable. Then they revealed that they had kept a small reminder of that moment all this time. Stay till the end, because this is where their public confession takes an unexpected turn. They weren't standing there simply to announce their feelings, they had come prepared to finally prove that those feelings had never disappeared. Then someone asked them the question everyone was thinking, "Why now?" Your soulmate went quiet. For several seconds, they couldn't answer. Finally, they admitted that something had happened recently that made them realize how quickly life can change and how dangerous it is to keep important feelings locked away. They said they had almost convinced themselves to remain silent forever, but one conversation changed everything. That conversation made them understand that waiting for a perfect moment was only another way of hiding. And then, in front of everyone, they said the words they had rehearsed countless times in their mind, "I should have told you sooner." Don't skip, because what came next made the people around them realize that this wasn't an ordinary confession. Your soulmate turned toward you and admitted that there was one truth they had never been able to say privately. They said, "I never stopped hoping that one day you would understand how much you meant to me." The room became still again. Then they explained that every time they tried to move forward, something inside them kept bringing them back to the same memory, the feeling of being understood by you when they needed it most. They weren't asking for applause. They weren't trying to impress anyone. They simply wanted you to hear the truth without hiding behind excuses anymore. And just when you thought the biggest revelation had already happened, your soulmate smiled through their emotions and said, "There is one more thing I need everyone here to know." That sentence changed every face in the room. Something huge is waiting for you in the next moment, because the final thing they were about to reveal was the reason they chose to confess their love publicly instead of whispering it privately. Don't skip what comes next. The room had barely recovered from those words when your soulmate stepped forward, and for the first time, they looked completely calm. Everyone expected another declaration of love, but instead, they began talking about the one thing they had been afraid to admit: they had been watching you quietly struggle while pretending they didn't notice. They said there were moments when they wanted to reach out, moments when they almost called, almost spoke, almost told you everything, but each time, fear made them stop. Then they looked directly at you and said, "I thought staying silent would protect us, but my silence was only creating more distance." Stay till the end, because the next sentence revealed exactly what finally broke that silence. Your soulmate then described a moment from recently that nobody else in the room knew about. They had been alone, thinking about everything that had happened between you, when they realized something painfully simple: if they continued waiting, they might lose the chance to tell you what was truly in their heart. They said they didn't want their last memory of this chapter to be filled with unsaid words. So they made a decision. They decided that wherever you were, whenever the opportunity came, they would stop hiding. Don't skip, because this was the moment their voice became stronger. They said your name again, louder than before, and declared that their feelings were not temporary, not accidental, and not something they could simply switch off because circumstances became complicated. Then came the reaction nobody expected. Someone in the crowd suddenly stepped forward and revealed that they had known about your soulmate's feelings for much longer than anyone realized. Your soulmate looked shocked, because this person knew about a secret promise they had made privately, a promise connected directly to you. The atmosphere changed instantly. Your soulmate asked, "How do you know that?" The person smiled and said, "Because you told me yourself." Your soulmate lowered their eyes for a moment, realizing that the secret was no longer a secret. And then they turned back toward you with tears in their eyes and said, "There is something I should have told you a long time ago." Don't skip now, because the next revelation could completely change the way you understand everything that happened before this confession. Something happened in that silence that nobody in the room could have predicted. Your soulmate took a slow breath, looked directly at you, and finally revealed what they had been carrying in their heart all this time. They admitted that there had been a moment when they genuinely believed they had missed their chance with you. They had watched the distance grow, watched circumstances change, and convinced themselves that maybe your story was already finished. But deep inside, they never accepted that ending. Then they said something that made everyone turn toward you. I kept hoping they would give me one more chance to tell the truth. Don't skip, because your soulmate was about to reveal why they chose this exact moment to speak in front of everyone. They explained that earlier, they had received a message that completely changed their perspective. It wasn't dramatic or complicated. It was one simple sentence, but it made them realize that they had been waiting for permission to be honest when they never needed permission in the first place. So they decided that if they truly loved you, they couldn't keep allowing fear to control their words. Their voice became emotional as they said that they didn't want another day to pass with you wondering whether their feelings were real. Then they looked around at everyone and said, "Let them all hear it. I choose honesty this time. Stay till the end, because the reaction to those words revealed something your soulmate hadn't expected." For a moment, nobody moved. Then someone quietly applauded. Another person smiled. Soon the entire room seemed to understand what was happening. But your soulmate wasn't looking at anyone else anymore. Their eyes were fixed on you. They stepped closer and said, "I don't know what happens after today, but I know what I feel right now." Then came the confession that left everyone speechless. They said they had never wanted a perfect person, a perfect life, or a perfect story. They had only wanted something genuine with you. And just when the moment seemed complete, they reached for the object they had been holding earlier and finally opened it. Inside was something connected to a memory only you and your soulmate could truly understand. Something huge is waiting for you, because what was inside wasn't simply a reminder of the past, it was a message about what your soulmate wants to happen next. The moment they opened it, your soulmate's hands began to tremble. Inside was a small keepsake from a moment you had probably forgotten, but they had remembered every detail. They held it up and explained that they had kept it through every confusing moment, every period of silence, and every time they wondered whether they should finally let go. Then they looked at you and said, "This reminded me that what I felt was real." Nobody interrupted. Even the people who had been whispering earlier were completely silent. But then your soulmate revealed something even more unexpected. They had brought that keepsake with them because they had already made one decision before walking into that room. Don't skip, because that decision was about you. They admitted that they had planned to leave without saying anything. They had told themselves that perhaps silence would be easier. But just before leaving, they saw you, and everything they had rehearsed disappeared from their mind. They realized they couldn't walk away while still pretending their heart was unaffected. So they turned around, came back, and spoke the words everyone had now heard. Then they said something that completely changed the mood. "I don't want you to remember me as the person who stayed silent." Their voice softened as they explained that love, to them, wasn't about making a perfect speech. It was about finally having the courage to be honest when honesty mattered most. Stay till the end, because your soulmate wasn't finished yet. Then came the part nobody expected. They turned toward the entire room and said, "There is one more reason I said all of this here." Everyone waited. Your soulmate looked at you and explained that they wanted you to know something without any confusion, without mixed signals, and without wondering what they truly meant. They said that from this moment forward, they would stop pretending that you were simply another person in their life. You mattered differently. You had always mattered differently. And then they took one final step toward you and whispered, "I don't know what your answer will be, but I needed you to hear my truth." The room fell silent again. But before you could respond, someone suddenly entered and handed your soulmate a sealed envelope. Their expression changed instantly. Something huge is waiting for you, because whatever was inside that envelope had the power to reveal a truth your soulmate never expected to face in front of everyone. Part 6. My beloved child, the envelope changed everything. Your soulmate stared at it as though they already knew it contained something they had been trying not to think about. For several seconds, they simply held it without opening it. Then they looked at you and said, "Before I read this, I need you to know one thing." Their voice was softer now. They said that no matter what the paper revealed, their feelings for you had not been created by this moment. They existed long before tonight. Stay till the end, because the next few seconds would expose a truth that had been hidden behind their silence for far too long. Finally, they opened the envelope, unfolded the message, and froze. Their eyes moved across the page once, then again. Nobody understood what they were seeing, but your soulmate suddenly looked at you with an expression you had never seen before. Then they whispered, they knew. Everyone became curious. Your soulmate explained that the message contained information about a conversation from the past, one they thought only 2 people knew about. But the message proved that someone else had been aware of it all along. They looked around the room, searching every face, until their eyes stopped on one particular person. That person immediately looked away. Your soulmate realized that the reason they had spent so long doubting their connection with you wasn't because their feelings were uncertain. Someone had unintentionally given them the impression that you didn't feel the same way. And suddenly, pieces of the past began falling into place. The missed conversations. The strange timing. The moments when one of you waited while the other remained silent. Your soulmate's eyes filled with emotion as they said, "All this time, I thought you had chosen not to come back to me." Don't skip, because what happened after that changed their entire understanding of your story. Your soulmate turned toward you and said, "If I had known the truth earlier, would have found you much sooner." Then they looked at everyone and made one final statement that silenced the entire room: "I am done letting assumptions speak for me." They weren't asking anyone to explain anymore. They weren't waiting for another sign. They simply wanted you to hear the truth directly from them. Then they held out their hand toward you. The room seemed to disappear as they waited for your response. But before you could take their hand, the person who had delivered the envelope stepped forward and said, "There is still one page you haven't read." Your soulmate turned around slowly. Their face changed again. And when that final page was placed in their hands, they realized the biggest revelation of the night had not even happened yet.